one day down in Alabama with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
One man come and go. One man come here to justify. One man to overthrow. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. In the name of love. In the name of love. One man come on a barbed wire fence. One man he resists. One man washed on an empty beach. One man betrayed with a kiss. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. In the name of love. One more in the name of love.
Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic height of meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. They have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone.
Early morning, April 4. Shut rings out in the Memphis sky. Free at last, they took your life. They could not take your pride. In the name of love. One more in the name of love.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream. My four little children one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. From every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
What a drag it is
the shape I'm in. Well, I go out somewhere, then I come home again. I light a cigarette 'cause I can't get no sleep. There's nothing on the TV, nothing on the radio that means that much to me. All my life, watching America. All my life, there's panic in America. Oh, 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 there's trouble in America. Oh, 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 oh.
In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world.
All my life, watching America. All my life, there's panic in America. Oh, 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 there's trouble in America. Oh, 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 there's panic in America. Oh, 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 oh. Yesterday was easy as I got the news. When you get it straight, you stand up, you just can't lose. Give you my confidence, all my faith in life. Don't stand me up, don't let me down, no, I need you tonight to hold me, say you'll be here. Hold me, say you'll be here. Hold me, say you'll be here. All my life, watching America. All my life, panic in America. Oh, 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 she's lost in America. Oh, 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 tell me how does it feel? Tell me how does it feel? Tell me how does it feel? Tell me how does it feel?
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. Finally, whether you are citizens of America or citizens of the world, ask of us here the same high standards of strength and sacrifice which we ask of you.
If there who still doubts that America is a place where all things are possible, who still wonders if the dream of our founders is alive in our time, who still questions the power of our democracy. Tonight is your answer.
The first man to die for the flag we now hold out was a black man. The ground where we stand, with a flag held in our hand, was first a red man. Guide of a ship on the first Columbus trip was a brown man. The railroads were trains, came on tracking that was laid by the yellow man. We pledge allegiance all our lives to the magic colors, red, blue, and white. And we all must be given the liberty that we defend. But with justice not for all men, history will repeat again. It's time to love. This world was made for all men.
For even as we celebrate tonight, we know the challenges that tomorrow will bring are the greatest of our lifetime.
Heart surgery was first unsuccessfully by a black man. Then the man who died to help the pilgrims to survive was a red man. Farm workers' rights were lifted to new heights by a brown man. Incandescent light was invented to give sight by the white man.
There's new energy to harness, new jobs to be created, new schools to build, and threats to meet, alliances to repair. The road ahead will be long. Our climb will be steep. We may not get there in 1 year or even in one term. But America, I have never been more hopeful than I am tonight that we will get there. I promise you, we as a people will get there.
Hear me out. Oh, I know the birthday of a nation is a time when the country celebrates. But it's your head to shake your heart. Remember, we are paid a pride in America to help that bad enough way. First stop to be made in America was created by a black man. Scott, who used no chart, helped lead Lewis and Clark. So that one man, so much so, our country gotta stop by the old man.
I am speaking to you from the Cabinet Room at 10 Downing Street. This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note stating that unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock, that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
When you hear the air attack warning, you and your family must take cover.
Speaking to you from the Cabinet Room at 10 Downing Street. This country is at war with Germany.
And you will be looking to me this afternoon for an indication of how government see the task before us and why we are tackling it the way we are. There are many things to be done to set this nation on the road to recovery, and I do not mean economic recovery alone, but a new independence of spirit and zest for achievement. In its first 17 months, this government have laid the foundation for recovery. We have undertaken a heavy load of legislation. Some people talk as if control or the money supply was a revolutionary policy, yet it was an essential condition for the recovery of much of continental Europe. So at international conferences to discuss economic affairs, many fellow heads of government find our policies not strange, unusual, or revolutionary, but normal, sound, and honest.
Well, I hope I don't die too soon. I pray the Lord my soul to say, yes, I'll be a good boy. I'm trying so hard to behave, because there's one thing I know: I'd like to live long enough to savor. That's when they finally put you in the ground. I'll stand on your grave and trample dirt down. When England was the whore of the world, Margaret was her madam, and the future looked as bright and as clear as the black tarmac Adam. Well, I hope that she sleeps well at night, isn't haunted by every tiny detail. When she held that lovely face in her hands, all she thought of was betrayal.
Has Britain the courage to resolve to sustain the no-verse discipline for long enough to break through the success? Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have, and we shall. This government are determined to stay with the policy and see it through to its conclusion. That is what marks this administration as one of the truly radical ministries of post-war Britain. For those waiting with bated breath for the favourite media catchphrase, the U-turn, I have only one thing to say. U-turn if you want to. The ladies not for turning. I say not only to you, but to our friends overseas, and also to those who are not our friends.
Try telling me she isn't angry with this pitiful discontent when they flaunt it in your face as you line up for punishment, and then expect you to say thank you. Straighten up, look proud and pleased.
you've only got the symptoms, you haven't got the whole disease. Just like a schoolboy whose head's like a tin can, filled up with dreams, then poured down the drain. Try telling that to the boys on both sides, being blown to bits or beaten and maimed.
For those waiting with bated breath for the favourite media catchphrase, the U-turn, I have only one thing to say. U-turn if you want to. The lady's not for turning.
Well, I hope you live long now. I pray the Lord your soul to keep. I think I'll be going before we fold our arms and start to weep. I never thought for a moment that human life could be so cheap. But when it's finally put you in the ground, they'll stand there laughing and tramp the dirt down.
On Tuesday night, I gave the order for British forces to take part in military action in Iraq. Tonight, British servicemen and women are engaged from air, land and sea. Their mission? To remove Saddam Hussein from power and disarm Iraq of its weapons of mass destruction. I know this course of action has produced deep divisions of opinion in our country, but I know also the British people will now be united in sending our armed forces, our thoughts and prayers. They are the finest in the world, and their families and all of Britain can have great pride in them.
I see a clinic full of cynics who want to twist the people's wrist. They're watching every move we make. Disagree, 'cause when the madman flicks a switch, the nuclear will go for me. The lunatics have taken over the asylum. The lunatics have taken over the asylum.
But this new world faces a new threat of disorder and chaos, born either of brutal states like Iraq, armed with weapons of mass destruction, or of extreme terrorist groups. Those hate our way of life, our freedom, our democracy.
I see the faces of starvation, but I just cannot see the point, 'cause there's so much food here today that no one wants to take away. The lunatics have taken over the asylum. The lunatics have taken over the asylum.
But these challenges, and others that confront us, poverty, the environment, the ravages of disease, require a world of order and stability. Dictators like Saddam, terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, threaten the very existence of such a world. That is why I have asked our troops to go into action tonight. As so often before, on the courage and determination of British men and women serving our country, the fate of many nations rests. Thank you.
Today is our chance to say thank you for the way you brightened our lives, even though God granted you but half a life. We will all feel cheated, always, that you were taken from us so young, and yet we must learn to be grateful that you came along at all. Only now you are gone do we truly appreciate what we are now without, and we want you to know that life without you is very, very difficult. Indeed, to sanctify your memory would be to miss out on the very core of your being, your wonderfully mischievous sense of humor with a laugh that bent you double, your joy for life transmitted wherever you took your smile and the sparkle in those unforgettable eyes, your boundless energy which you could barely contain.
Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You were the grace that placed itself where lives were torn apart. You called out to our country and you whispered to those in pain. Now you belong to heaven and the stars spell out your name. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Loveliness we've lost, these empty days without your smile, this torch we'll always carry for our nation's golden child. And even though we try, the truth brings us to tears. All our words cannot express the joy you brought us through the years. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You were the grace that placed itself where lives were torn apart. Goodbye, England's rose, from a country lost without your soul, who missed the wings of your compassion more than you'll ever know. seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. Your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
I don't think she ever understood why her genuinely good intentions were sneered at by the media, why there appeared to be a permanent quest on their behalf to bring her down. It is baffling. My own and only explanation is that genuine goodness is threatening to those at the opposite end of the moral spectrum. It is a point to remember that of all the ironies about Diana, perhaps the greatest was this: a girl given the name of the ancient goddess of hunting was, in the end, the most hunted person of the modern age. Above all, we give thanks for the life of a woman I'm so proud to be able to call my sister. The unique, the complex, the extraordinary and irreplaceable Diana, whose beauty, both internal and external, will never be extinguished from our minds.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing, have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and a quiet, unyielding anger. These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat, but they have failed.
With OG at a Yankee game that made the Yankee hat more famous than a Yankee can. You should know I bleed blue, but I ain't a crypto. But I got a gang of walking with my click though. Welcome to the melting pot corners where we sellin' Africa been by the home of the hip-hop. Yellow cap, gypsy cap, dollar cap, holla back. For foreigners it ain't fair, they act like they forgot how to act. 8 million stories out there in the naked city. It's a pity half of y'all won't make it. Me, I got a plug special ed, I got it made. If Jesus paying LeBron, I'm paying Dwayne Wade. 3 dice CeeLo, 3 card Marley. Labor Day parade, rest in peace Bob Marley. Statue of Liberty, long live the World Trade, long live the King, yo. I'm from the Empire State, that's
Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve, for the children whose worlds have been shattered, for all whose sense of safety and security has been threatened. And I pray they will be comforted by a power greater than any of us, spoken through the ages in Psalm 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. This is a day when all Americans from every walk of life unite in our resolve for justice and peace. America has stood down enemies before, and we will do so this time. None of us will ever forget this day.
So I choke on sun, and the days blur into one in the backs of my eyes, on the things I've never done. Sheets are swaying from her own clothesline, like a row of captured ghosts or old dead grass. There's never much, but we've made them most. Welcome
I have a dream today.
For even as we celebrate tonight, we know the challenges that tomorrow will bring are the greatest of our lifetime.
This country is at war with Germany.
I don't think she ever understood why her genuinely good intentions were